How much did you object to the Vice President of the United States, who's been Catholic for like 6 minutes, saying the Pope should be careful when he talks about theology and just war theory?
So Mehdi Hasan just exposed the stunning arrogance of J.D. Vance lecturing the Pope on theology after converting to Catholicism only 2 years ago. This video breaks down how Trump's administration is picking fights with religious leaders worldwide and why Catholic voters might finally be turning against them.
I mean, there's an arrogance to J.D. Vance that clearly came out in that thing. They're so used to lecturing the liberal media and lecturing the Democrats and telling everyone to mind what they say that they thought they could extend it to the Pope.
Exactly right about the pattern here. Vance converted in 2019 and now thinks he can school Pope Leo, a lifelong priest who leads 1.3 billion Catholics on just war doctrine. It's the same imperial mindset that led Trump to attack NATO allies and UN leadership.
But we've been told now that there's no row between the Pope and Donald Trump. The Pope made a statement saying, I'm not out to criticize Donald Trump. J.D. Vance jumped on the statement, said it's all manufactured by the media. Was this all manufactured by the media? There's no division. There's no difference of view.
Well, I think if there's a row, it's a kind of one-sided row.
The timeline matters here. Pope Leo criticized the Iran war on theological grounds. Vance immediately attacked him publicly, then Vatican diplomats had to issue damage control statements. Classic Trump playbook: create chaos, then gaslight about who started it.
And I think that's the key point here, that popes have come out against previous American wars, illegal wars, horrible conflicts, but the reaction from the American president has not been to lash out. Of course, we have a man-child in the White House who only knows how to lash out.
Perfect comparison. Pope John Paul II opposed the Iraq war, but Bush never personally attacked him. Obama disagreed with Benedict XVI on social issues, but maintained respectful dialogue. Trump's the first president to publicly insult the Pope as weak on crime.
I mean, I don't think, I've heard Donald Trump say a lot of hilariously weird things, but saying the Pope is weak on crime was one I will always remember. That was a bizarre thing to say. And then he said the Pope wants Iran to have nuclear weapons. When you hear stuff like that, as a Catholic priest and an American citizen voter, what's your reaction?
Both claims are verifiably false. The Pope has never advocated for Iranian nuclear weapons. He's consistently opposed nuclear proliferation globally. And weak on crime makes no sense for a religious leader focused on mercy and redemption. Pure disinformation.
I saw Pete Hegseth do a press conference where he made his usual hawkish nonsense, God bless America, troops, kill them all, blah, 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 I'm paraphrasing. And within moments, there was a tweet from Pope Leo saying God doesn't support war, doesn't pick a side. You're saying that's not a reaction to what he's hearing from the American government? He's not responding?
The timing was remarkable. Within hours of Hegseth's No Mercy press conference, Pope Leo tweeted that God doesn't choose sides in war. That's not coincidence. It's the Vatican directly rebuking American war rhetoric in real time.
Well, he's clarifying, he's correcting the American government, saying God is not on your side or on the side of prosecuting this war.
This strikes at the heart of Christian nationalism. When the Pope says God doesn't take sides, he's rejecting the divine mandate narrative that Hegseth and others use to justify unlimited military force. It's theological pushback against American exceptionalism.
You challenge Pete Hegseth and others who have claimed that God is on our side, basically, in this war. God bless our troops. And you said it's making a false God in our image, a God who despises Iranians.
That's heavy theological language. Accusing someone of creating a false God is essentially calling them blasphemous. Given reports of over 200,000 Iranian civilian casualties, the Pope is saying Americans are worshiping violence, not the Christian God.
You saw Trump come out and say, I like his brother. He's a MAGA guy. And the poor brother of the Pope actually got doxxed. I think he got swatted in the aftermath by MAGA voters, which is says a lot about where we are.
Swatting is when someone calls in a fake emergency to send SWAT teams to your address. It can be deadly. The fact that Trump supporters targeted the Pope's brother with this tactic shows how radicalized the base has become.
Pete Hegseth's pastor Doug Wilson is doing a media tour right now, openly talking about Christian nationalism. What do you make of that? Do you worry about that?
Wilson advocates for Christian supremacy and has called for biblical law to supersede civil government. Having him as Hegseth's spiritual advisor while running the Defense Department creates a dangerous pipeline between religious extremism and military power.
I think Donald Trump, you're right, is a very emotional, impetuous, reckless, narcissistic, thin-skinned individual, and J.D. Vance is a sycophant.
This sycophancy is dangerous because Vance enables Trump's worst impulses. When the VP attacks religious leaders to please the boss, it signals that no institution, not even the Catholic Church, is safe from political retaliation.
You reject all comparisons between Donald J. Trump and Jesus Christ.
Remember the golden Trump statue at CPAC 2021? Or Paula White declaring Trump God's chosen one? This isn't hyperbole. There's literal idolatry happening in American Christianity, with Trump positioned as a messianic figure.
I mean, the MAGA cult is, building golden statues of Trump. And of course, why wouldn't Trump post a picture of himself as Jesus when Paula White, his evangelical faith advisor, this crazy lady, is saying stuff like, you're like Jesus. I think she said in a video clip I saw the other day that disobeying Trump is like disobeying God. When you have those kind of people in your public space talking about Christianity, you can understand why some people are thinking, well, that section of the church that supports the GOP, that supports Trump, they're off, they're nuts.
By Christian doctrine, what Paula White is promoting is textbook blasphemy. Equating obedience to Trump with obedience to God violates the first commandment. The Pope is right to reject this heretical fusion of politics and faith.
There's a remarkable moment where the president of Iran put out a message last week expressing solidarity with the Pope, saying, we are insulted at how Donald Trump posted about Jesus because we love Jesus as Muslims, which we do as Muslims. A remarkable moment where the president of Iran is telling the Pope, we support you against the American Christian president.
This is unprecedented in modern diplomacy. Iran's president is defending Christian theology against an American president who claims to be Christian. It shows how completely Trump has alienated traditional religious allies while empowering America's enemies.
Unfortunately, yes, the normalization of Islamophobia by the Tommy Tubervilles and the Randy Fines and the kind of Andy Ogles. You look at I think Tuberville said last week, Islam's not a real religion. Like the rhetoric that's coming out from these people. And Randy Fine said, if I had to choose between a Muslim and a dog, I would choose a dog. Like that normalization of Nazi-esque anti-Muslim rhetoric.
Tuberville and Fine's statements aren't outliers. They represent mainstream GOP rhetoric now. The Catholic Church's tradition of interfaith dialogue puts it directly at odds with this Islamophobic agenda, creating more tension with Trump's base.
Christian nationalists don't really want anyone who's not a Christian white person in this country, whether they're Muslim, Jewish, Hindu. We're all in the same non-Christian boat from the perspective of Christian nationalists. And, I look at Pete Hegseth. He's got a tattoo not just of a Crusader cross and Deus Vult, but he's also got a tattoo in Arabic of kafir, non-believer. And you just think, we Muslims are in the crosshairs, very much so.
Those tattoos are profoundly disturbing for a defense secretary. Kafir is a slur against non-Muslims, and Crusader symbols represent religious war. Hegseth is literally wearing supremacist ideology on his body while commanding America's military.
So just before we wrap up, I do want to ask about this idea of mercy, because in going back to the Republican Christian coalition, you make a very good point when you say people are voting politically.
Mercy is central to Catholic teaching, but Trump policies show none. Mass deportation, separating families, bombing campaigns with massive civilian casualties, and political prosecutions of opponents. The contradiction couldn't be starker.
I think that's the real reason Trump picked a fight with him, because he can't stand anyone being more popular than him.
Pope Leo's approval rating is 67% globally, while Trump's hovers around 43%. Trump can't stand anyone being more beloved than him. He attacked McCain, Reagan's legacy, and even Jesus comparisons. The Pope's popularity triggers his narcissism.